The 19th of August 1980. Saudia Airlines Flight 163 is a scheduled international passenger flight from Karachi to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The flight had a 2-hour stopover at Saudi Arabia's capital Riyadh and was part of the yearly pilgrimage flights to the holy city of Mecca. In command of Flight 163 is Mohammed Ali Kawaita, a Saudi who was hired by Saudia in 1965. He has flown numerous airliners like the DC-9, the 737, the 707 and the L-1011, accumulating over 7,674 flying hours of experience, including 388 on the L-1011. He wasn't a gifted pilot. Training records described him as a slow learner and needing more training than usual. His co-pilot is 26-year-old First Officer Sami Abdallah, who joined Saudia in 1977 as a pilot in training. He received his L-1011 type rating just 11 days prior to the flight and had 1,615 flying hours, including 125 hours in the L-1011. At one point during his training, due to poor performance, he was removed from the flying school. Also on board is 42-year-old flight engineer Bradley Curtis, an American national who was hired by the airline in 1974. He had been qualified as a captain on the DC-3 and was later assigned to train on the Boeing 707 and 737. However, he failed to qualify as both first officer and captain due to his poor record. Later, Curtis paid for his own training as flight engineer on the L-1011 to keep his job and had accumulated only 650 flying hours, of which 157 were on the L-1011. Carrying 287 passengers and 14 crew members on board, the flight was operated by a 7-month-old Lockheed L-1011. It made its first flight on the 13th of July 1979 and was delivered to Saudia on the 21st of August 1979. At 9:05 p.m. local time, Flight 163 is cleared for takeoff from runway 15 left. Flight 163 departs Riyadh at 9:08 p.m. and is expected to arrive in Jeddah in 1 hour and 35 minutes and will be cruising at 36,000 feet. At 9:15 p.m., Flight 163 is cruising through 35,000 feet for 36,000 feet when suddenly flight engineer Curtis reports a problem. Just as the flight reaches cruise altitude, the crew receive warnings of smoke detection in the rear cargo compartment, but are unsure of what to make of those warnings. The aircraft warns the crew that A and B have detected presence of smoke in the aft cargo hold. A and B are two smoke detectors located in the rear cargo section of the aircraft, near the tail. All the necessary action to be taken in case of an emergency are listed in the operation manual, under the abnormal emergency procedures. The next 4 minutes are spent by the crew trying to confirm the warnings and how to deal with them. However, Flight Engineer Curtis suffers from a particular disability, dyslexia, or word blindness, meaning he cannot read the checklist nor the manual, or even his instruments. Flight Engineer Curtis leaves the cockpit to check in the cabin for presence of smoke or fire, despite the warnings from the sensors. The crew are still unsure of whether the warnings are true or just a malfunction. Inside the cabin, thick smoke starts to appear everywhere, making it difficult to see or breathe. Riyadh Air Traffic Control clears Flight 163 to return back to the airport and informs the airport fire crew to stand by for the emergency. Back in the cabin, the raging fire is beginning to melt through the floor. Flight attendants desperately try to extinguish the flames with fire extinguishers and water. The thrust lever for engine number 2 gets stuck as the fire melts through the cabin floor and burns its electric wires. The captain has not yet given the order to evacuate despite knowing of the fire. A flight attendant storms the cockpit to ask for permission to evacuate the passengers as soon as the plane comes to a stop. For some reason, the captain believes the fire is not that serious and tells the crew not to evacuate the passengers.
Gear down on lock.
In an emergency, the pilots must stop the aircraft as soon as possible after landing to evacuate the passengers and crew. However, for reasons unknown, the captain decides against evacuating the passengers and continues down the runway. Flight 163 taxis the entire length of the runway and comes to a stop in a taxiway 2 minutes and 44 seconds after landing. The fire crew do not open the aircraft doors as the engines are still running and there is no sign of passenger evacuation. Finally, 3 minutes and 14 seconds after the aircraft stopped, the engines are shut down, but it's too late. As the fire crew open the doors, the aircraft bursts into flames and is instantly engulfed in them.